You know that moment when something is already over, already done, already in the past, and your brain just refuses to leave it there. Nothing big happened. No clear mistake. No obvious problem. But somehow, your mind keeps going back to it. A sentence you said. A reaction you had. A small shift in someone else's tone. Something so minor that most people wouldn't even remember it 10 minutes later. But for you, it lingers. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly sitting there, like something unfinished. And the strange part is, you don't even decide to go back. It just happens. You're doing something else, thinking about something completely unrelated, and then suddenly, there it is again. That moment, that sentence, that tiny detail. And your brain pulls you into it like it's still happening, like it still needs your attention. So you replay it. You hear your own words again. You look at the timing. You try to remember exactly how it sounded. You start noticing things you didn't notice the first time. And then the questions start. Was that okay? Did that sound off? Did I say too much? Did I not say enough? Did they notice something in the way I said it? And just like that, you're no longer just remembering what happened. You're reviewing it. And that's the part most people don't realize. This isn't just thinking. It's checking. It's your brain going back and trying to verify something that already happened. Because deep down, it doesn't fully trust that the first version was right. And once that checking starts, it doesn't stop at one pass. Because the first time you go over it, you focus on one detail, maybe the words. The second time, you focus on tone. The third time, you start imagining how it might have looked from the other person's perspective. And now, you're not just remembering anymore. You're reconstructing. You're building different versions of the same moment, trying to find one that feels correct. But here's the problem. That feeling you're looking for, that sense of, okay, that was right, almost never fully arrives. Because your brain isn't just looking for understanding, it's looking for certainty. And certainty is something real life almost never gives you. And if you slow it down, there's a very specific reason that feeling never arrives. Because what your brain is trying to do isn't actually possible. It's trying to go back into something that already ended and turn it into something certain. But the moment itself doesn't change. Only your perspective does. So every time you revisit it, you're not getting closer to an answer. You're just creating a slightly different version of the same uncertainty. And that's why it keeps going. Not because there's something new to find, but because your brain hasn't accepted that there's nothing left to resolve. There's no perfect way to say something. No perfect reaction. No perfect outcome. There's just what happened. And your brain doesn't like that. It doesn't like the idea that something can be done without being fully confirmed as right or wrong. So it keeps going back. It keeps checking. It keeps trying to find something that will finally make it feel settled. And the more you do this, the more convincing it becomes. Because every time you go back, the moment feels more important, more detailed, more real. You start to feel like there must be something there. Because why else would your brain keep returning to it? But the truth is, the repetition itself is what creates that feeling, not the moment. You might even catch yourself in the middle of it, realizing you're looping, realizing you've gone over the same thing multiple times. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You try to move on. You try to distract yourself. But a few seconds later, you're back again, because that small, unresolved feeling is still there, and your brain responds to that feeling, not to logic. And the more aware you become of the loop, the more frustrating it feels, because now you can see it happening in real time. You notice yourself going back. You notice the same thoughts repeating. You even recognize that it's not helping. But that doesn't stop it, because awareness alone doesn't break the loop. The loop is driven by a feeling, and that feeling is still there. So even when you understand what's happening, your brain still pulls you back, not because you want to go back, but because it still feels unfinished. If this sounds familiar, pause for a second and think about the last time your mind did this. One small moment. One thing you kept going back to longer than you wanted to. Drop it in the comments. You'll start to notice how common this actually is. So why does your brain do this? Because to your brain, checking is a form of safety. If you double check, you won't miss anything. If you review, you won't make mistakes. If you analyze enough, you'll eventually get it right. And this pattern didn't come out of nowhere. For a lot of people, it started earlier in life, in environments where getting things wrong had consequences, where reactions weren't predictable, where you had to pay attention to subtle changes. where being aware mattered. So your brain adapted. It learned to monitor, to review, to check, to make sure. And over time, that became automatic. Not just thinking ahead, but thinking back, going over everything, making sure nothing slipped through. And the tricky part is, it doesn't feel like a bad habit. It feels like you're being careful, like you're being thoughtful, like you're doing something responsible. But most of the time, you're not improving anything. You're looking at the same moment from slightly different angles, trying to get a different answer from the same situation. Because what you're really looking for is certainty. A clear signal that says, yes, that was right. Yes, you handled that correctly. Yes, nothing was off. But most situations don't give you that. They just exist. They happen, and then they're done. But your brain doesn't let them be done. It keeps reopening them, trying to finalize something that doesn't have a final version. And this is where the loop becomes exhausting, because it doesn't end. You go back once, then again, each time hoping this will be the one where it finally clicks, but it doesn't. So you keep going, and stopping feels uncomfortable because it feels like you're leaving something unfinished. Over time, this starts to affect how you move. You hesitate more, you second guess more, you take longer to decide, because decisions don't end when you make them. They continue afterward. You revisit them, you review them, you question them. So even small choices start to feel heavier. What to say, what to reply, what to do. And that's where the exhaustion comes from. Not from doing too much, but from constantly revisiting what you've already done. That's also why you can feel tired, even when you haven't done much, because your mind never fully shuts off. But here's the important part. This pattern doesn't come from weakness. It comes from awareness. You notice things. You care about impact. The problem isn't that you care. It's that your brain doesn't know when to stop checking. It treats everything like it needs confirmation. And when everything needs confirmation, nothing feels certain. So the shift isn't to stop thinking. It's to stop trying to confirm everything. Instead of asking, was that right? Try something simpler. That's what I chose. You're allowing it to be done, even without certainty, even without full clarity. The next time your mind tells you to go back, to check again, to make sure, pause it, and remind yourself it's already done. And yes, that will feel uncomfortable because your brain is used to checking, but that feeling doesn't mean something is wrong. It just means your brain is doing what it learned. So if your mind keeps pulling you back into things that already ended, it's not because you're broken. It's because your brain doesn't trust decisions easily. And now, it just needs to learn something new. That not everything needs to be checked. Not everything needs to be confirmed. And sometimes, done is enough. If this felt familiar, consider subscribing, because this is exactly what we're going to keep breaking down.